This is a quick demonstration on how you can add your own implementation of MCP in Cline. For this demonstration, we'll be using a stopwatch MCP that will start a timer when you ask Cline. And you can ask Cline to either check how long it has been since the timer started, stop the timer, and reset the timer. We'll be using Python to implement the core application. And this is what the implementation looks like for the basic stopwatch MCP we'll be adding in Cline. There are 4 tools available here: start timer, stop timer, reset timer, and elapsed time. And all the code and logic that actually carries out the stopwatch functionalities are written in Python under each method. And thanks to the MCP library that we are importing, all the MCP implementation logic is abstracted away, so all we have to do is add a decorator called @MCP tool over each method, and the MCP library handles all the translation of taking the method's name, parameters, and docstring, and the return type of the tool to describe it to the LLM. In other words, the burden in explaining what this MCP does is taken away from you. And instead, MCP allows the LLM to autonomously call all of these tools if it thinks that your prompt requires any of these tools to be used. So now that we have an understanding of how a basic MCP server is structured, let's add it in Cline and try to spin this up. First, store this source code in a desired directory you want to run this. Once you have the code stored in the directory, copy the full path of this file so that we can add it in Cline. When you go to Cline's MCP settings and go to the Install tab, there's a button near the bottom called Configure MCP Servers, which opens up a JSON file containing MCPs installed on your environment. So let's add a new entry like this and make sure that the directory for the source code is correct. Notice how once you added them inside the JSON file, the 4 tools that we went over earlier showed up in Cline's MCP settings tab on the left. And you can toggle each tool to auto-approve, meaning Cline now has the ability to run the code without asking for permission each time. So now that we have the configuration set up, it's time to now see if this is working. You can go to Cline's chat input and prompt Cline to say, start stopwatch. And we can see that Cline was able to understand what MCP it should use and what tool to call, all without having to explicitly instruct Cline how to use the MCP. Now let's confirm if this is running by asking how much time has elapsed by prompting Cline. And just like that, we see Cline use our own custom MCP once again to check how much time has elapsed since the timer started. You can also compound different commands by saying stop the timer and start again, and Cline will now call 2 commands sequentially like this. So as you can see, creating a custom MCP is not only an extremely straightforward process, but the implications are huge given what custom tools we can now plug into Cline, and really the possibility is endless. And of course, you can take it one level further by asking Cline to create MCP servers on your behalf, so all the work that we just demonstrated can be done by Cline from the beginning till the end. By copying the Cline rule for this feature available in Cline's website and adding them in your own Cline rules section now allows you to ask Cline to create MCP servers. So now that Cline knows how to create MCP servers himself, you can ask Cline a simple question and say, I want to build an MCP server for stopwatch that has 4 tools: start, stop, restart, and elapsed time. The stopwatch MCP should allow me to use stopwatch function that tells me how much time has elapsed, start the timer, stop the timer, and restart the timer. And once this prompt is sent, to start letting Cline do his implementation. And Cline will now also create custom MCPs on your behalf, just like we walked through earlier.